Welcome to Who Dares Sins, where you get the opportunity to get something off your chest that you might have had on there for a very long time. It might be bugging you that you haven't told the truth. You might have stitched someone up. You might have done something you're not proud of. Well, let me know, and I'll let everybody else know. If you want to remain anonymous, that's up to you. Or maybe you want everybody to know exactly who it was who sinned. So let's get on with it. Welcome to Who Dares Sins, where I act as a bit of an agony aunt for people who've done wrong in their life and want to put it right. Now, this week, the geezer wanting to pay pittance for wrongdoings in the past has asked if he can remain anonymous. And to be fair, I don't blame him either. So I can't use his name. So today, for the purposes of this exercise, I'm going to call him Bob. So Bob, what was Bob up to that was that bad that he's got to confess to it 20 odd years later? Right, it was about 1990. Bob had been through a rough patch with his missus and he'd split up. He wasn't with her no more. And once he'd split up, he decided he was going to grip his military career and he was going to get a posting somewhere else, disappear out there and get himself a life. So he did exactly that. He got a posting to Germany. Now, Germany, at the time, was very much a posting where there was lots happening. But it wasn't operational lots happening. What was happening in Germany? Well, there was cheap booze, cheap fags, loads of women. It was party central. And sure enough, being part of a member of the RCT, the Royal Corps of Transport, he found himself on a camp which wasn't doing too much. But that was music to his ears, because it meant he could indulge in all the frivolities of life. Until he tells me he got involved. He got proper involved. He had a great time. He was living the life of Riley. Now, on his camp were loads of WREC, the racks. Remember the racks? Yeah, loads of them. Loads of guys a similar age to him. And the scene was set for a great couple of years. Now, he'd been out one weekend and he was coming back. It was a Sunday, early hours of the morning. And the deal was there was a squadron bar that was open almost 24/7. And it was run by a guy, and we'll call him Dan for this. So Dan the man, Dan used to run the bar. Now, Dan had been picked to run the bar because he was a raging alkie, all right? And what better place to put a raging alkie than in the bar, of course. Well, it was back in 1990, wasn't it? Do you know what I mean? So that's the sort of thing they were up against. And Dan loved his job in the bar. Dan could stay in the bar 24/7. And he did. And it was always open. But you had to get into the bar at the right time. Because if you never, you got locked out. So, Dan, early hours, Sunday mornings, already shut the door in the bar when Bob turns up. And Bob comes up to the bar door, realises, I ain't going to get in here. Because there's like a set of double doors, then a bit of corridor, then another door. It's all locked. So even if he knocks on it, they can't hear him because all he can hear is glasses chinking, music blaring, boys and girls gobbing off, and he's on the wrong side of the door, so he can't get in. So he's racking his brains. How am I going to get into this Sunday night / Monday morning debauchery of a party? And he comes up, cunning plan number one. He thinks what I'll do is I'll get the fire hose, I'll run it to the door, I'll turn it on, I'll flood the place, but I won't flood the place because what will happen is as they see the water coming under, they'll suddenly realise, oh, there must be someone outside because there's water. They'll come out to investigate. They'll open the door, I'll turn the fire hose off. Bob's your uncle, Robert's your father's brother, and I'm in like Flynn. So that's what he thinks to himself. He thinks, I'll be in there, won't I? So, sure enough, he goes up to the fire hose, pulls it out, reels it out. It's quite a long fire hose, so it takes him a couple of minutes to get it down. Goes back, places it by the door, then goes back to turn it on. He turns it on. Now, there's a little bit of a sort of like as it goes round the remaining hose on the reel, it goes down towards the spout. When it gets to the spout, This thing has got uber turbo pressure. The end of it is now flying about like a snake on speed. It's all over the place. There's water everywhere. And he runs down, slips on the wet floor, can't get hold of this thing, tries to get hold of it, misses it, and he's in sort of like this semi-drunken rage of not being able to catch this hose. And in the end, he thinks, I can't do this. So he just sacks it off. He chins it off. He bins it. Nah, just leave it. They'll turn it off eventually. How much damage could it do? And he goes back to his room, gets in his scratcher. He's asleep. 5 o'clock in the morning. It's going off like Chinese New Year in the corridor outside. He gets woken up. There's screaming, there's shouting, there's people gobbing off. Sticks his head round the door. Fire hose is still going. Place is absolutely in carnage. Everything's flooded. Some bloke's lost his hamster. Some bloke's bedding's ruined. Someone's left his kit. Everything ruined. Thousands of pounds worth of damage. He's quickly thinking to himself, the finger could point my way on this. So what he does is he thinks, right, I'll get involved. I'll jump straight out here and I'll get involved. I'll help. Yeah, I'm here. It's okay. Don't worry. Bob's sober. Bob's up. Bob runs out, finds the hamster. There you go. Here's the hamster. Gets squeegee in the old water. He's turning himself into a bit of a hero. Everyone's like, Bob's all right, isn't he? Bob's helped out here. And just as it's at the point where they're going, Bob has saved the day and he's thinking about tea and medals, someone turns around and goes, I wonder who turned that on. Now Bob's panicking. Now Bob's thinking to himself, I need to come up with a solution to this because they're going to put the blame on me. And then I'm going to go from hero to zero in a heartbeat. Cunning plan number 2. He thinks to himself, right, I'll say to them, go to the guard room. Go to the guard room and you can see who booked in last, and that might help you pin the tail on the donkey and find out who done this. And then all of a sudden, as he's saying it, he suddenly realises, that's going to pin the blame firmly on me. I'm going to be guiltier than a puppy next to a pile of shit. He's like, I've just grasped myself up. So as they go down to the guard room, there's 3 or 4 of them sat round there, guard commanders there, provost sergeant's up by this time, duty Rupert, the whole kit and caboodle, they're all down there, flicking through the pages of the book. Who came in at this time? Who could it possibly have been? And the finger is turning round to our Bob. He thinks, I've got to go aggressive or go home here. I've got to absolutely throw this back at them. And without even thinking, he stands there, looks at them and goes, do you really think I'd have brought you down here if I was going to grasp myself up? Do you? Do you think I'm stupid? The duty Rupert takes a second to ponder on that and thinks, fair one. Yeah, actually, would he grasp himself up? He'd have to be a nutter. No, Provost Sergeant, it couldn't have been him. And they start going through other options and thinking about who else it could have possibly been. Could it have been someone who got a million things? But Bob presses his point home. Anyway, he's deflected the blame away from himself enough. He's gone upstairs. There is thousands of pounds worth of damage. But our Bob has got away with it. All right? Now, Bob realises he's a wrong 'un. He realises that the hamster nearly died and was probably had some form of PTSD from the rest of its days. He realises that blokes lost valuable kit and equipment in his flood. The ceiling came down underneath, damaging even more stuff downstairs. So Bob's fessed up. Although he don't want to put his name to it, Bob has fessed up. And he's told me all about it. He's also said he feels extremely guilty. And although he can't do anything to put it right now and doesn't want it known who it is, I'm going to grass him up. No, I'm not going to grass you. That had you panicking, didn't it, Bob? I got you there, didn't I? I'm not going to grass him up because I can't do that. I've said that people could be on here anonymously and I will honour that. But Bob, or anyone else who was serving in Germany around that time of 1990, whose ceiling came down, whose hamster went into a permanent state of shock, or whose kit was ruined, Bob would like to apologise to you personally. And if you remember it, why don't you drop me a DM and just let me know. Bob, you're rumbled, all right? But thanks for letting us know. If you've got a story that you think is worthy of Who Dares Sins, Why don't you send it along? Maybe you want to get something off your chest. Bob has assured me he feels a lot better for having let me know. He said it's been like a millstone round his neck for years, and he feels like that's now gone, and he can live the rest of his life a happy Bob. And I wish you many happy years, Bob. See you later.